If you had to fight an ancient order of assassins, would you want to do it with a beer named the Quiet Legend?
Ooh.
We're going to show you how it's done today. Tune in. So tonight's feature presentation, Quiet Legend from Single Hill. Thank you, Greg, for checking that one in. Harrison and I are going to take you through an adventure as old as, well, maybe the first assassin ever, but...
Ooh.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, episode whatever.
Yeah, right. We'll let YouTube count for us, or Spotify, or whatever. And remember, subscribe if you haven't yet. Tell a friend, tell your mom, call your parents. If you haven't in a while, it's good. Don't text them, call them. Tell them to subscribe to us, or don't.
Yeah, I called my dad on the way to record this podcast, and he said, you'll have to catch me up on what those things are.
Yes, exactly. It's just the radio in a different place. Yeah. Thanks, Pops. But anyway, thanks for hanging out, checking this out. And if you haven't subscribed yet, it does help us a lot. So, and thank you if you already have. But with that, let's get to the meat and potatoes, as they say. What are we doing, John?
The Quiet Legend. A mechanical keyboard that doesn't click-clack when your coworker's typing.
That's it. I'll be legendary to not have to listen to just 1,000 people clickety-clacking, which I don't, because I work at home, and also typewriters have been gone for a while, but computers get loud. Okay.
Yeah, so Quiet Legend, when we talked about that in the Fast Five last week, for us a couple of minutes ago, but last week in the real time, I saw Harrison's face do that thing. If you've watched a couple of our Fast Fives, you can almost tell when we land on a beer that's going to become a movie.
It is interesting.
And Harrison had an idea about assassins and maybe the first, or maybe assassins from history, and that was enough for me to say it's going to be really hard to top that. We tried with Fancy Feet, and there was a couple other ones.
Yeah, Fancy Feet.
Fancy Feet, tough to top.
There's always the one that got away. There's always a banana whale in all of these episodes, and an ultimatum or whatever that we didn't do that maybe one day we'll get to.
It's always going to be Powder Jones for me. When we start making T-shirts, I may make a Powder Jones shirt just for the memory. But tonight is about the Quiet Legend. So hopefully you've got your AirPods in, you're in a quiet place down the highway, and you're going to go through some sort of assassin movie. So like all movies and stories, they start with the beginning. This one, like whenever we get into a feature film, I never really want everyone to feel the same, but let's talk about, this is going to be a movie that revolves around some sort of quiet legend assassinator.
Yes.
Who's going to be like the protagonist of this story, Harris?
So I think, and this is kind of unlike a lot of our stories so far, but maybe a little bit like Ice Melter, and that like Ice Melter had a bit of a backstory that made it kind of became important later in the movie, even before we got to the protagonist. I think we started with the protagonist, then later came back and we're like, by the way, there used to be ice giants in this place. That's why there's a fire sword in the mountain. So learning that lesson, I think it's good to start with the backstory of kind of this league of assassins. And then I kind of see, so we'll hash that out in a second, and then like zoom into like present time, where we find a protagonist basically at odds with these assassins, and what follows is the movie, a kind of cat and mouse thing where at the end there can only be one Highlander. I mean, one person.
Of course.
So that's the gist. Now, so let's start with the backstory. This is always fun to have. I'm imagining the sub-narrator, you know, we're looking at old maps or old pictures and books as the movie starts of, you know, knights and people with swords and people with knives jumping on kings and queens and assassinations happening over time.
So like we'll roll the movie in,
yeah,
kind of retelling or telling famous assassinations from history.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think it should be important, obviously, not just killing like, Joe Schmo or Bob who runs the apple cart or, anything like that. Like they're, the people they're killing are important. So, and it could be like some of the biggest ones in history, like Caesar and Brutus is involved, or Martin Luther, or a bunch of kings and queens and other important folks.
I like surely we all probably think of Kennedy, Martin Luther,
right, sure,
and maybe even mixing in some like you see. Like I want you to see though, like Caesar, of course, was a pretty big deal. Certainly Martin Luther King, Archduke Ferdinand, which is, you think of like the famous assassination that started World War I, and you never think like he was the Archduke of Austria and how important Serbia was in that war. You're like, but Serbia, what? I think we have one listener in Serbia, so
good day.
Tell me about how that affected you. But I like the idea of mixing in maybe a couple other assassinations, and you start to see the like who. Okay, I know about Lincoln. Yeah, who was that? And maybe these assassinations were happening because there was a cloaked.
A
sect of people that were like, this person was going to be too powerful or have too much sway over common man, so that's why they were assassinated.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's like not a shadow government even, it's just like a shadow brotherhood or a shadow group of assassins who are aligned around some ideal of, we can figure that out, but it's just basically like, keep the powerful in check, and if something's, or even just simple as like, we want what we want, so we'll guide the world the way we want it to go.
I like that. Not the government. Like, what's more powerful than the government? An iPhone 3.
Right.
Like, but you don't have to answer to your constituents or voters. This is like just a sect of people that are following their own beliefs.
And it could be even that, like, so let's do this. Let's have Lincoln be one of the folks that they assassinate, and maybe this brotherhood. Maybe there's a divide where like the original message plan of like, no one person can become too powerful, and if one person starts to change the world too much, basically they take them out. So that's kind of where this began, and a splinter cell starts to form within these assassins that are just like, well, sometimes we kill somebody and our lives don't get better, they get worse, and the people we love, their lives get worse, and like, we have all the power, maybe we can start, controlling more of our future and the future of the world, and pick what we want to do and pick who lives and dies. And they made it more about them, and it was more selfish. Not that being an assassin is some noble whatever, but what I'm trying to say is, like, before they were held to some higher something, they thought they were going to be noble, but like all things, once you get big enough, the power corrupts. So after Lincoln, maybe there's this internal fighting, and the original kind of members or the descendants of the original, let's say 4 assassins, get together in secret and plan the assassination of all the others, and they succeed or think they succeed. I could see it as being something like, they kill almost all of them, but maybe, we show in the beginning like 1 or 2 escaping or something like that, and then all 4 agree to kill themselves afterwards to end it all, and like all 3 do, and one of them doesn't.
I like, of course, it wouldn't be a movie, right? Like,
if they all die, it's over. Right in the end of the Civil War, it's all done.
They've realized things have gone awry. They've said that we had to sit down. There was some unsanctioned hits. Lincoln was one of them. They're like, we've gone too far. And then through an act of sheer decency, they're like, look, this is it. This is how we're going to end. We all stand in a circle and just poke forward, right? And they all poke forward, except for one guy who's just like, all right, that works for you. I'll see you later.
See you guys later.
No longer want to do this.
Right. And he walks away.
He just... at the last second.
Just dodge, quick dodge.
He's an assassin, of course.
Exactly, yep. So, sneaky. He's not the Quiet Legend, though, I don't think. I think that's going to come on later. And actually, the Quiet Legend, it should be probably something like, let me see. So it could be part of their backstory as well, where like, because it's an ancient brotherhood. I mean, Caesar already said that, but maybe they go back even further. And part of their culture, their beliefs, whatever, is that they believe that like one day a member of the brotherhood will exist that is like the perfect assassin. And like that's why they all train, and who they marry is like very controlled, and they're basically like trying to breed like the Yao Ming of assassins. They're trying to make the perfect assassin, as is written in their legend, and that like, you know, is, you know, faster and stronger, and most importantly is, with all assassins, quieter than any other assassin. And when that child can't be made, like it will only be born to, you know, someone. It's in the brotherhood,
like the Buddha.
Right, exactly, many parallels. And so to pair up with that future child that they call Quiet Legend is also a weapon called Quiet Legend that was, you know, forged by monks or the Egyptians, or maybe it's ancient and no one knows where it came from, but it's a knife or a dagger or something, like, you know, something small enough, again, assassin, but like it has special properties to it, I guess, that will help him or her become the perfect assassin.
I like this. So there's a backstory.
Yes.
There's this long-standing brotherhood of assassins. I like brotherhood, the brotherhood of the knife.
Love it.
Because like you just said, the brotherhood of the knife, and this knife is mythical.
Yeah.
Because their Buddha hasn't been born yet. Their Quiet Legend has yet to be discovered.
Right.
And so they named the knife this Quiet Legend. And the properties, there's rumors, right? Like the Quiet Legend can cut through steel. The Quiet Legend can be controlled by your mind. The Quiet there's all these like backstories about the knife, but the knife is only valuable when its master is discovers
exactly it. And maybe like they like always, maybe it was used in like the first assassination, and maybe that was Caesar or something. This is not really important, but like it has significance.
It's definitely the knife that Brutus used,
so maybe that was part of it. Like, so but they like bring it to like, it's a ceremonial piece that when they're all united and stuff, assassinating people together before Lincoln, and then maybe as part of this kind of purge that happens internally, the knife is lost. The Quiet Legend is lost in this great kind of assassination of all the assassins, and nobody knows supposedly where it is. And so like that's kind of all the setup. So the assassins have been dispersed. The world is now kind of just rolling along unchecked as far as we know, up until today. And so I think this movie can mostly take place today. We get these cool 10 minutes of what we just talked about at the beginning, not even this exposition to set the story up, but now we got to tell the actual story itself.
If you don't know your history, you don't know where you're going. And in this movie, the beginning, you're filled in on the history of this brotherhood, as we all just were, as we just kind of made it up. But
I love it.
So we know that for recorded history, or even like since Julius and Brutus, and maybe even before, these assassins have controlled the fate of mankind.
Pretty much.
And then there was a fallout. There was things got too crazy, like an ecstasy party. And at the end, like an ecstasy party,
People
they all decided they have to off each other. One guy broke free because this sect still lives on, maybe in hopes to finally one day find the Quiet Legend. But I like that. So we see this in the beginning. We learn all that backstory, and then as the movie kind of comes to, and we're introduced now to it's going to take place in modern times,
right?
And then we jump into what effectively becomes the story that you all remember, but you have to know about the Quiet Legend for the movie to make sense.
100%. And so it should probably present day, and I'm seeing like I think it makes the most sense to have us follow like a young Secret Service agent.
I like that, protecting, the opposite of assassinating.
Right. So you think we're going to jump in and see some guy sneaking around and whatever. No, like we're going to go to the other side of the coin now, and look at the Secret Service and follow a Secret Service person through this journey who's like a young kind of, and really like should probably be not too satisfied with their life. So we can allow him to be built up in this story a little bit. That's always fun when you know.
Yeah, you don't start. We're not starting at the top.
Yeah, no one ever does.
We've got. When I was a youngster in high school, I took criminal justice courses, and my instructor was a Secret Service agent, and he would always he was overall a decent human, but he would always make his old football story. It was like, I was in the Secret Service. I was there when McKinley was attempted to be assassinated. Wow. I was like, I don't know if that's a boast or not,
right.
But they didn't succeed.
Right. Yeah,
so
exactly.
Anyway, Secret Service, I like the underrepresented. All they are is just men in black that jump on the president when someone drops a book. So I like we're throwing them a bone here with this story. And I like, so our protagonist is in the Secret Service, but he isn't like at the top.
No.
He went to college,
sure,
because you have to be a Secret Service agent,
right?
And he probably spent some time in the military.
Yep, that's good. Let's do that.
I prefer Army, so he was Army, and so he's got a little bit of he's got backstory. He's got friends from the Army. He went to college. And maybe he wanted to be in the Secret Service, but he's not thrilled about, like, he's not guarding the president.
Right. I was going to say, maybe that's what he always wanted to do, but he's like stuck basically in some detail he didn't want. And that could be the source of a lot of his frustration. He probably applied to be like on the president's detail, kept getting denied, not enough leadership experience or whatever. And so he's stuck on, like, let's have it be like a presidential candidate, like someone who is running for president, and maybe like a wild card type person where he's like, oh man, this is gonna be not only not where I want to be, but also might be a little stressful. This person says a lot of stuff that can rile some people up sometimes. A lot of interesting
passionate
ideas.
Fan base.
Right. There you go. But some wild ideas. And maybe as he's kind of gets to know him and listens to him talk, it's like, some of these ideas are maybe make the world a bit of a better place. And for a moment, he's like, I guess this isn't the worst job ever. Like, again, maybe sees a little bit of a light in his life where
I like just a lot of gray. Where I am in the world. I like the idea, even if it's only a subplot, that we get to introduce a candidate that is radical, but it really is bringing some ideas to the table that would this candidate would make a vast difference. Like, to answer Reagan's question, if he ran in 4 years, we all would be in a better place. Like, he's campaigning not just about jobs, but really good ideas. I like that. We get to briefly see, even if it's just fictional movie, a presidential candidate that could really make a good difference.
Even though our guy's just the driver, he's still like, all right, I guess I got to start somewhere or whatever. Like, he's again, so he's not where he wants to be, but it's not as bad as maybe he thought it was. Trying to be optimistic for now, but of course, the shit's get the fan soon. What's this guy's name? Let's talk about him for a sec, a little bit more.
So our Secret Service agent, our protagonist, the person that'll be the hinge pin of this story, he's gonna play a role in this assassin brotherhood somewhere. So I want him to have a name with a little like origin, but also weird.
Okay.
First thing that comes to mind is Felix.
Ooh. Felix the cat.
Young. It's got some youth in there. It's got some history in there. I think it's originated in Latin, so I like that.
Probably. Sounds right.
And also, you probably think of Felix the cat. So, and they're kind of crafty. So
they are. Silent.
So our young Secret Service agent is Felix. And hopefully he comes as kind of identifiable. Everybody that's watching this movie should see some quality that they like in Felix, or that they can, that makes them, you want to root for Felix.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And I think it can be, we can even meet him like in his apartment, kind of dancing to some music, talking to his cats, making some eggs, and he gets the letter that says like, sorry, you've been denied.
I like that.
So he's like happy, and he's a go-lucky, happy person, but just the dreams keep getting crushed right in his face. So he kind of begrudgingly gets in his car. I gotta drive this guy around that open and tweet something before I get there that has people throwing eggs at the car again, because I like every time one hits, I reach for my gun. It's exhausting.
I love this. Yeah, because we're on the campaign trail. We're not like, I mean, it's still like, you know, we got to get for days well, I think things happen pretty quick for this,
yes,
but
I agree.
Still he knows everywhere this candidate is going to be going. Can we put, like, we're on the campaign trail. Can we be in Buffalo?
Love it. Let's go to John's neck of the woods.
Hell yeah. The last assassination attempt on a president, I think, was in Buffalo.
Really?
I think that was, maybe it didn't happen in Buffalo. Maybe it did. I don't know. Something happened in Buffalo.
Buffalo's the place to be.
Yeah, it's a great place. Great place. Don't go over there for the wings.
Okay.
You know, we have wings there, but there's better food. So we're in Buffalo. The agent's gonna be out in the field all day driving our candidate around.
Yes.
Candidate Brown.
Perfect.
We'll call him. It's an homage to Buffalo. We'll call him Byron Brown. No one in Buffalo likes that, though.
That's okay.
But we'll call our candidate Byron Brown, and he's going to be out there. That ruins it. I hated Byron Brown. Never mind. We're gonna retcon that.
Okay.
We're gonna call him Duff. After Buffalo's famous wingmaker.
Okay.
So candidate Duff is going to be out on the campaign trail. He's going to be downtown Allentown, where his followers would be, because he's pushing for change.
Got it.
And there's going to be a big speech. We're going to roll through the city a little bit, but there's going to be a big speech in Allentown where he's going to go out there and do candidate stuff and shake his babies and whatnot.
Yes, right. Kiss some feet. Do cool politician things.
But what I like about candidate Duff is, you know, like all candidates, you have to wear a suit.
Yes.
But he's got a little bit of swag about him. He's younger. He's like maybe even just late 30s. You know, like reminiscent of Kennedy. He's got Riz. You know, he's I don't know if he's young enough to officially have Riz, but you know, he's got some panache. He's not. He doesn't come off as a jerk. He comes off as a guy that you could have a beer with, not a 30-year French Cabernet.
Right, or just some Vicodins.
Yeah, Vicodins and non-alcoholic beer, please. And a Mick Ultra. No, he's a real dude. He knows Josh Allen on the football team.
All right.
He's not just visiting, but he's a people's guy. Anyways, it's not about the candidate.
Yeah.
It's about our Secret Service agent.
I think you can see that kind of stuff. Like, we see that as the audience too. Like, all right, this guy that seems larger than life is a real person. Maybe again, Felix is like, maybe this will turn out well for me, or whatever. So he's just driving the car at this point, but he's on the detail. He's there, and so I think we can kick right into this. And like, so then we, you know, he's giving this speech or shaking babies, as John was saying,
like any good politician would do.
That's right.
Stop crying.
Whose kid is this? And let's just say there's an assassination attempt. Like, he's in the crowd, some kind of, I'm imagining like hooded, but like, whatever, sure. Figure comes in and like immediately starts attacking the other Secret Service guys, takes out a lot of them. But because Felix is the driver, his job is like be in the car, and he's like, again, kind of like maybe having a bad day, like, oh, I'm still just sitting in the rain in Buffalo, like, son of a gun, why is this my life? And then here's like the screaming and the crowd start to move, and he's like, oh shit, turns the car on, turns the siren on, starts moving through, and sees Duff with like Secret Service guys passed out on the ground all around him, and this like crazy looking dude with, well, let's just say a knife, about to like stab him, and like before we even notice the audience, Felix is like on this dude, pins him to the ground. He tries to stab Felix. A fight ensues, and Felix like ends up maybe stabbing him back with his knife or something. He takes him out, like, and it all happens very quickly, obviously, and maybe you get the impression from, as the audience, like, that the assassin is like surprised, like very surprised that someone got the drop on him, like Felix did. But of course, he was in the car, raining, not ideal conditions. Felix had a bit of an advantage, so we're also led to believe. But there's something about the way the eyes look in the assassin as he dies. It's clearly surprised which, like, I don't know, if you're trying to kill a president or a president, candidate, like, probably can't be shocked if you're dying. Like, that's high up on the list of probabilities of things to happen to you that day.
You hear about the wins, right?
Right.
But I'd imagine your success rate isn't going to be really good.
Never.
And I like that. So through a little bit of chance, through position, Felix is turning a bug into a feature here.
I love it. Yep.
Because this assassin was equipped and he was trained from the looks and sounds of it.
Yes.
He's not just a crazy person. He took out a few agents, and Felix quick on his feet. He was in the military. He's young. He played college sports.
Good.
He's trained, and but in a quick battle with the assassin, this like I wanted to feel like this wasn't your typical angry steel worker,
right?
Like this, and he was bringing a knife. Like this guy was trained and motivated, but Felix takes him out, kind of against his will too. Like, of course, you probably want to hold him for questioning and stuff, but. Just through reaction, Felix stabs him, and before long, he is no longer in a talking state. So our assassin is killed.
And let's say since he's like right on top of him, Felix throws his arms off him, looks down and sees like a mark, and maybe it's just like a knife, like looks like a brand almost of like a coat of arms with like a knife in it and like a helmet and whatever. Something not too complicated, very simple, but also like clearly not like natural. And maybe Felix sees that and like kind of freaks out for a sec at this image that's on this guy's arm and like backs away. And there's a lot of chaos, and other Secret Service guys swoop in. Ambulance is there, cops are there, like, crowd screaming. So it all happens in an instant, and he gets like pulled away from the body, and the body gets like grabbed and thrown into like a ambulance or whatever, and more Secret Service guys come, and it's just a swarm and chaos. But he gets that second to look at this guy's arm and see like, what is that? Is that a brand? Is that a tattoo? That can't be a birthmark. But at the same time, he's like, my God, why do I know that?
Yes, I like it. Like it is the audience, we get an insert shot of that, so when you're watching this movie, you can see that, and like, okay, there's some significance here. We'll probably figure it out as we go. It doesn't say like I'm an assassin,
right.
but right now it's just it's something we don't fully understand. But that punch in, zoomed in shot where you see that on the assassin branded on his arm or something like that.
Yep.
That'll play a role, so it'll help identify this guy.
Exactly, I was just saying, that for many just regular police stuff like tattoos and birthmarks and piercings, that's like top of the chart in terms of identifying people. So he takes it in and it's like, oh, it's gonna be important. I'm sure someone will ask me about this later. Like, I'm glad I saw that. I'll be able to help identify this guy.
Yeah, and there's I don't know, like probably wouldn't be part of the movie, but there's some debriefing. We take Duff back to the Hyatt Regency or wherever back to his bus and wherever he's staying. We make sure that our candidate's safe. We kind of debrief and, okay, what did you see and how many people were in the audience? And we go through those steps. And then afterwards, like Duff's campaign trail is kind of put on pause for a little bit. So he goes to TikTok or wherever and tries to calm his fans and talk about it and everything. Like, I'm okay. I don't know what happened. Like, of course, and that's probably good for his campaign. Now like the news wants to talk to him and
he's
stuff.
on every channel now. He almost just got murdered.
And I don't know if this is procedure in the Secret Service or not, but like Duff's boss, Duff's manager is like, hey, we got to meet tomorrow morning for stand up. But he's like, he's like, hey, tomorrow, why don't you take a couple days? Like you did fucking great work, son. We love what you did. You really put yourself out there. We need you to just take a couple of days and chill. We're going to hook you up with a psychologist. Like they'll probably ask you some questions tomorrow. And Duff's like, great. I'm in Buffalo. It's a city of knowledge. I'm running to the to the library. I imagine Duff wants to. He's curious about. We saw the brand. He's curious about that. He's asking questions to the people that are debriefing him.
Well, I was going to say, I wonder, how about this in the debrief? Felix is like, he's like, okay, like, yeah, like this is what he's kind of starts doing the breakdown, and the guy who maybe he's never seen before looks like Secret Service, but like just kind of showed up on the scene is like, yeah, so like, calm down. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I got to tell you what I saw immediately. Like, this just happened. Every minute I forget stuff. Like, you know, the protocol. And this senior guy is like, sure. Look, we just want to make sure that you're okay and that you don't need to worry. And Felix is like, this is in his head, like, this is not protocol at all. And he's like, all right, well, look, if like, I get that a lot's going on right now. If you don't have a lot of time for me, I just want to tell you about the birthmark I saw on his arm. And they're like, we looked over the body. Like, there's nothing unusual. Like, you don't need to, like
probably gang thing.
You probably didn't see it. Or he's like, you probably didn't see that. Like, you probably caught up in the moment. Like, there's nothing unusual about this guy. He's just a nobody. He's a drifter. Like, you don't need to worry about it. We've got everything we need from you. You just, you know, take your 72 hours off and, you know, surrender your firearm for blah. Well, I didn't use that, so I guess I don't need to do that. But anyway, the point is, this guy is clearly, to Felix, like, not interested, not following protocol. And now, because of that, his interest is piqued. He's like, what the hell? That was weird. I don't know who that person was. They didn't want to know about the birthmark that could have identified this guy. They said they still don't know who he is. Like, I have some pieces to this puzzle that no one seemed to care about, and now I'm off the case for 3+ days. Like, what if there are more? What if it was a sign and there's more people like him that all have that same kind of tattoo thing? So he's like got an earworm in his brain that's just like, I gotta figure out what this thing is. So he goes down the lovely rabbit hole that is the internet and like is able to find just a little bit about, like, you know, eventually finds that insignia tied to like a group of crusading knights, let's say. But then, like, everything after that, what happens to this specific group of knights, there's like nothing. There's like scanned pages and books online, but it stops right after that. For 3 pages in that book, they're just not uploaded. Articles online are redacted or broken links, like,
which probably just makes him even more
exactly. Like, he's like, what the heck?
Okay, something's fishy here,
right? Like,
so
I can't
where
find
do
out.
You go as a young kid. You go to the person who knows best.
Your mom.
Exactly. Mom, tell me about this. And she's like, oh, honey, you're fine.
Right.
Have some
Have
pasta.
some cookies.
He's probably got like a college professor or someone that like he took a shine to back when he was in university.
Oh yeah.
So I'm reaching out to that guy. If I'm Felix, I'm going to be like, let me talk to my history guy. He seemed really interested in this type of stuff. I think I can sketch what I saw, and I'll go there. So he probably, like, we'll keep it really Buffalo. We'll say he went to University of Buffalo or Canisius or something like that.
Sweet.
So, and he's right in his hometown anyways. So he runs down to the school and knocks on the professor's door.
Love it. And they start talking about it. It's a lovely Indiana Jones type scene where, like, maybe the professor right away sees it and he's like, oh yes, the crusading knights from the
Roman times.
Right, they're the whatever region. I know about them. In fact, I think there's even more about them in the rare book section. Like, I maybe have some people I can talk to as well, and like in Europe and other universities about this. Like, what's it all about? And he kind of explains a little bit what happened.
Yeah, I saw you on the news.
Right,
like, glad you're okay.
Exactly. Yep.
Love that. Are you in town? I don't. The professor doesn't know that if we're investigating a brotherhood of assassins, the professor needs to get some time, needs to do some research. So why don't you take the night off, go look for some tail out by the airport and meet me tomorrow in my office. I'll set up a call with my colleagues overseas. Meet me tomorrow at 9.
Yep, I love that. And so Felix leaves feeling like, all right, great. Like, I'm going to have some answers in the morning. I'm exhausted. Crazy day, crazy life. and then he, like, passes out, wakes up, goes back to the college the next day, like, sees the professor's door kind of ajar, and his coat's still there, and the coffee cup from last night still there, and he's like, man, he must have been here all night. What a great guy. Opens the door, and the professor's dead, sitting in the chair. No. Murdered, assassinated by one of these sneaky people who we don't even really see much of.
I think at this point, after this, so Felix was Secret Service. He was guarding a candidate.
Right.
someone made an assassination attempt. This is all pretty much what you signed up for.
Sure.
The birthmark was weird. He couldn't find anything about it, which was weird. He goes to talk to his professor. His professor ends up assassinated. At this point, Felix is probably thinking, I either just forget about this and go back to work, and that's not a movie, or I go Delta. I'm going rogue. I'm
in all the way.
I'm not like Secret Service 9 to 5 anymore, but I'm chasing this.
Right, and maybe like the professor wasn't like decapitated, like they poisoned his drink and like he just like died kind of in his chair. So immediately it's like, oh my God, like what a tragedy, but also like this is super suspicious. Then his computer's like fried, not on fire, like the motherboard was just like clearly hit with a lot of electricity or something. And so even as he tries to hang out with the coroner and talk to the secretary and, you know, like, hey, something went wrong, everyone in that circle is like, hey kid, he was an older professor, like sometimes you stay up late, a little too much coffee, maybe a little too much bourbon, mixing them up, and that's that. Like everyone's trying to write it off, and he's like getting more frustrated, and it's like, and maybe he even like sees the coffee cup and like swabs it with his finger, and there's like clearly some oily residue on it, and he's like, something's in that cup, gotta test that cup. And like as he's saying that, like some, you know, clumsy crime scene, not even crime scene, just like coroner's like, kind of cup, what do you mean? Like, this is all garbage, this guy had a heart attack, it's all thrown away, this isn't a crime scene guy, like, you had a hell of a day, you're on the news, someone almost died,
thanks for saving
him, but like,
thanks for saving
exactly
future president.
The world is out to get you, man. You should go talk to the therapist. Like, everyone's just trying to talk him off the edge and make him feel like he's a crazy person, what is exactly what the assassins want. But he's not having it. He's got too much resolve, and like now he knows, and it's become kind of personal, and like he kind of feels like he's just in the thick of it. Like there's no turning back now. He's got to keep digging, but he's like kind of at another dead end. So it's like, all right, great. I've gone to the one person, one of two people, let's say, I trust. Like, and the other one, next? Where do you go next? So maybe not mom, but maybe dad. And let's have this be kind of not, let's take some time with this. So like dad isn't just hanging out fishing somewhere. Maybe he's like kind of aloof.
Yeah, dad's in maybe not totally. Dad's in like a convalescent home. Dad's old.
Okay, yeah.
He's in the section where like the Alzheimer's section. And so normally Felix and his dad don't really like, it's a sore spot for him because he's not there for his dad all the time, but his dad isn't really there all the time.
Right.
And but of course, you know, he's dad. And so like maybe gets a call from the nurse, and he's like, I know you're in town. You know, we saw you on the news. Your dad's doing pretty good. If you're in town today, why don't you stop down? It'd mean a lot if you just like came and saw him. He's pretty lucid right now.
Nice.
So it's a good excuse to like have a break from this rabbit wheel.
Both race, rabbit hole.
There, thanks, Harrison.
Rat wheel.
He's stuck in the rat wheel. Come hang out at the on the grounds with your dad. It's by the lake. You get some fresh air.
I was gonna say, yeah, perfect. My kind of thinks it's gonna be a break for him.
And I don't know, how does his dad help evolve this story though?
I mean, like, I think at best his memory is like unreliable at this point if he's kind of in and out of lucidity in terms of like being able to specifically help Felix. But something really important that I don't think we've revealed yet is like so I think the like mark on the assassin is maybe like also on Felix. Like he has like a birthmark on his ankle that looks like almost identical to it, and he's had it his whole life. So like, that's another reason why he was like, what the F? So now he's talking with his dad, but he like probably can't ask about that because again, like sometimes his father thinks he's the pizza delivery guy or, you know, Hank Aaron or something, and rarely does he think he's his son. So even though his memory can't be trusted, like maybe Felix is like, all right, my dad may not remember everything, but maybe like he has some stuff written down, or maybe like, you know, about me, about this. Like,
okay, so the dad time can be a little comedic break, sort of.
Sure, could be, yeah.
But his dad keeps talking about, we need to go to the boat. We need to go to the boat.
Okay.
Where his dad spent the later part of his years, like living on a horrible little houseboat somewhere off of Lake Erie, or
I like that.
a smaller lake near Buffalo.
I like
because
that.
I already have B-roll footage from last
as much houseboats as possible. I like that. So like, and he's like, okay, great, Dad, see you later, and like bolts over there, because maybe at this point he's kind of like, all right, my professor's dead, someone tried to kill this presidential hopeful yesterday, like this is probably big and coordinated, like these guys are pros. If they know that, if they probably know I'm poking around, certainly probably following me because I killed one of their members. Like, if I know about the houseboat, they know about the houseboat. So he like books it over there immediately, and it's a mess, and he can't find stuff, and he's sifting through things, and then like maybe behind like a picture of their family, or a picture of like Felix as a kid playing baseball or whatever, that's like the only picture still hung up on the wall, he like moves that aside, and there's a small cubby with like some books in a box in there, and it has some of the information he wants. Talks about those Crusader Knights, like how they became the Brotherhood of the Knife, and even has like some kind of maps and pictures or drawings of tapestries and other things that reference the Quiet Legend for the first time. And so that's where he sees it, of this like floating knife that floats above all these old knights, kind of drawn in a tapestry, and it's glowing, and they're all glowing and hovering or whatever. And so he and maybe also learns that like the assassins have like throughout history like never failed, like they've been perfect and they were built to be perfect. But part of the legend, part of the Quiet Legend, is that like when failure does occur, the Quiet Legend will like be the one to restore them to power and perfection and stuff. So now he's kind of starting to like maybe piece some stuff together of like, holy crap, like if that guy the other day was part of the Brotherhood and I stopped them, like, and they've never been stopped before, maybe I've accidentally set this thing in motion to this Quiet Legend thing that I don't understand what it is, and I don't know really what that means, other than it sounds like these people that are trying to kill people and have killed people may get more powerful by this thing, so I've got to like stop it. But has no idea what it is, where it is, how to do that, none of this stuff. And then of course, because these assassins are pros, like he doesn't really get to look much more into what he has. He gets attacked by the assassins in the houseboat. A cool houseboat battle happens, which are the best. He's throwing like small pots and pans at them and hitting them in the head with the bathroom door that's also the shower door, that's also the washer and dryer door.
Jackie Chan sort of.
Yes, doing scene. Like jumping, putting his hands in between the two, the chair and the table, and kicking people, and yeah, lots of small space, close quarter acrobatics happening, and like making a lot of noise. And it could just be as simple as like, you know, the goofy security guard that like protects the marina is like, what the heck's going on down in old man Felix's boat or whatever, and starts to go that way. So the assassins like, and maybe they even get him in a corner to like take Felix out, and he's like thinks he's about to die, and then like the one of the assassins puts a finger to his ear like he's receiving a message in earbud, and they stand up and like jump out and run. And then a minute later the security guard comes over, he's like, hey kid, you all right, what's going on? So Felix isn't sure if like, did they just get called off, scared off, like what the hell is happening? I should be dead and I'm not, why? And perhaps as the audience we even like hear hear in the earbud like a kind of gloomy, ominous voice that says like, let him go, he has it, like that's all we need, or we'll follow him, or something like that. So he has to kind of intentionally let go for some reason, and we're led to believe so we know he's the breadcrumbs now and he doesn't know it yet.
We know the whoever's commanding this assassin Foot clan,
yes, exactly, very much like
wants to leave Felix alive because of something.
Probably the Quiet Legend, but yeah, we don't know yet.
He found information in the houseboat that his dad had. He's got a birthmark that looks similar to the brand, or maybe a brand even that looks similar. His dad wasn't too keen. Like, well, maybe he didn't even remember that he had the birthmark, but his dad was like, "Oh yeah, something looks like that on your leg." Like in a moment of lucidity, and he's like, "Holy shit!" he learns a little bit more about Quiet Legend, but he doesn't quite get an end point, and his dad's houseboat catches fire after the assassins leave, so that he can't like stay there and keep dwelling on it. And he's at this point, he's at a pretty low spot because everything's coming up dead end. Or there's no information, or he finds a lead and that person literally dies. I like the idea that maybe even the assassins got his dad, because he's starting to get pulled into this, but it isn't quite personal yet. So after he leaves the marina, he gets a phone call from the convalescent home again. He's like, "What? Okay, hello."
Yep.
And they're like, "We have some bad news. Your father's passed away. I'm glad he got to see you. They're like, what do you want to do?" So now he's got to plan a funeral, and he's really down. He's really down at this point in the film and his journey. So we need like some kind of a win for him, or maybe a little boost.
Yep. He feels outmatched. He feels like he's lost, and like he'll never, like he's just lose. He's got a team of who know how many people against him. So this is a good time to introduce like either a love interest or some comedic relief or a good friend or like a almost like a Q type person, even from James Bond, like someone who can be a rock and have some answers and help him out a bit. Maybe that, instead of, we've done love interest, that's easy.
We need another Seth.
Yeah, right. We need like a Seth type person, exactly, to kind of jump in now. So how about that? He can have a buddy. This is like easy, just a former Army guy call him. Saw you on the news, like, you know, it's been a while. You okay? He was like a little crazy there. Reminded me that day in Ramadi when things got a little upside down and had to throw that boiling pot of tea on that guy. Like, oh my God, who the hell is this? And it's his buddy
Hastings.
Oh boy. All
Hastings served with him.
Okay, so
they still check in. I like this. They check in once in a while. I saw him on the news. That's great.
Right.
How you doing, bud?
Right. So Hastings is, and he's calling us loud and feels like, I barely hear you. Where are you? He's like, yeah, I'm in my plane. I charter planes in the Caribbean now. You can fly? We were in the Army, not the Air Force. Yeah, don't tell.
It's easy to fly down here.
Don't tell the guy, at least the plane from that. Yeah, right. It's easy to land in the water than a runway. Ocean's pretty big. My Z plane. But so Hastings calls. We get a little bit of a break from the doldrums. He checks in and realizes Felix is like, you know, at his low point, and he's like, I'm coming to you, say no more, like, we'll figure this out. And Felix probably all he has to say is like, yeah, I'm caught in the middle of something big here, like it's worse than the news, like my college professor's killed, my dad just died, but I don't think he died naturally. I think I'm close to figuring out who's behind all this stuff, but getting too close, and they're trying to knock me off next. And he's like, whoa, shit, worse than I thought, you're right. So I'll be right there, and I'll bring my teapot or whatever. He's like, I'll see you.
Nice. I love that. That's such a great something we need in this film right now. I served with guys 20 years ago that I'm pretty sure if I called and I said I was in a down spot, they would fly their stolen Caribbean plane. So this is great.
That's awesome.
Hastings is going to bring a little bit. Can he also be like a conspiracy nut? Just some reason that he knows a little bit about this as well.
That's all he does. He'll fly one flight a week to some rich person in the Caribbean that pays for his hut, and the rest of the time he's just on the internet, just diving deep into every rabbit hole possible and getting a little goofy and a little silly. So that's Hastings. Plenty of free time, lots of weapons he shouldn't have, doesn't mind stealing a plane or two. He's exactly the kind of friend you need when a group of assassins are trying to kill you.
Yes,
so
when you're hunting the Foot Clan.
Right, exactly right. If you can't get the Ninja Turtles, call Hastings. So, so Hastings flies up and they get a chance to like get in a safe house or just, you know, somewhere that is not like Felix's apartment. At this point, he's like, my cover's blown. They know who I am. They're killing my dad. They killed my professor. Like, I need somewhere safe to hide. So they find some place and go through all the stuff he got off the boat because he has like a box of things. And so he's reading it like in a panic. Now him and Hastings have a little more time to lay all the contents of the box out on the table and start to piece this puzzle together of like, what is the quiet legend? Why does it matter? Where do I fit in? What is this insignia that is kind of on my ankle and definitely on that guy's arm? So we get a fun montage of them drinking some beers and catching up and then sifting through all this stuff. And right now, Hastings' mind is like just ripping through mostly ridiculous conspiracy theories, to which Felix is like, "What? UFOs in the base of the Vatican? I don't think this has anything to do with that, Hastings." He's like, "All right,
you never know.
Right. You never know.
How do we know these not an alien? Be
prepared." Stuff like that. But they eventually get to like some actually useful information, and there's maybe a clue or two or more than that, and probably doesn't have to be many clues. If we're starting with crusading knights, the Vatican may be involved, or some ancient place. Like, we're going to Europe, most likely, to finish.
Like one of Hastings' like one-liners during this montage would be like, you know what? They brought it to you at your home. We're gonna bring it to them at their home.
That's the good. I like
and
that.
As they go through, and we can kind of fast forward a little bit, like through the montage, they're able to piece together a connection to the Catholic Church, Roman Catholic Church, Julius Caesar.
Yep.
So where's the most reasonable place to go? It's the Vatican. Hastings has always wanted to get in there and dig through their archives anyways, because that's where all the secrets are.
They know where Bigfoot is.
I already know how I can get like a researcher's permit, so we'll be able to get into the archives. I'm already filling out the paperwork. Jump in my plane. And maybe Felix like, I don't know if we can get to
Europe in a seaplane
in that thing. He's like, you're right. We'll just go to the hangar and we'll find one that'll work better.
Right,
There's no international law in the air.
Right.
Or like, so maybe we do like a heist, or he convinces someone to lend him a plane.
He just valets some rich lady's car, takes the plane key, I'm assuming, out of the car, and then just perfect.
This will get us there. Come on, let's go. It's half full.
I was going to say, we're going to have to take a guess.
And so they end up in Italy. There's probably some scenes about, change of culture and stuff like that.
Right,
maybe
gelato,
Felix sees someone
espresso.
that he thinks has a brand, but we're getting to the Vatican. And there's go through the scene. We're like, yeah, I'm here on research. I'm working for the Caribbean government of Caribbean to look for some of our Catholic Church history. And so they let him in. They get to the Vatican secret archives.
Yes,
you know the name of them, don't you, Harrison?
I don't remember, but yeah, they are. Yeah, that's enough. That's good.
And in there's a bunch more dead ends, a little bit of history about the Brotherhood of Knights as a entity, but not much as to like, here's where they live or a address on file or anything like that. So again, we're kind of down. Hastings is loving every minute of this. Like, oh my God, did you know about this?
Distracted, right, exactly right. There are aliens down here. There are, I swear, I knew it.
And as a movie, we have the ability to put a plant in here, which is going to be like one of the guards, the funny looking Swiss guards, which if you're watching this on YouTube, I promise I'll have a picture of how funny they look. Amazing. But I hear they're pretty badass.
Yep.
And he recognizes, or he doesn't recognize Felix, of course, but maybe he recognizes it from the news. But he knows, like he's sort of related to the sect of the Brotherhood that whatever Felix's dad and great grandpa were part of.
Right.
He's like, look, I think I know what you're looking for. I've heard you guys talking. If you're here about the knife, you have to go to this place in France. It's called, if you watched our last 5, Castle Eureka's Castle.
Eureka's Castle.
You have to find Eureka's Castle. Damn it, in France. That was the last like headquarters of this Brotherhood.
Okay.
So that there's a little bit of travel montage, moving around and stuff, but effectively Felix is now hunting this Brotherhood with Hastings as his backup, because now it's personal. Like, killed his dad.
Yep.
They interfere with his job. He's somehow related. He needs to get to the bottom of this.
Right.
So there's some research pieces that move around, but he finds his endpoint, at least so we think, from this Swiss guard telling him, go to this French castle.
Right.
That's where the history of the Brotherhood is.
And it could even be like they're down there snooping around and they go to the place that they think the answers are and they're not supposed to go. And they see like one of the assassins down there. it's clearly followed them, and they're like, oh shit, and kind of create a commotion, and the Swiss guards are like, what the F? And like the assassins escape but arrest or capture Hastings and Felix, and they're like, oh well, we're screwed, we're done, this was a huge failure. And that's when your Swiss guard shows up and is like, you're not in trouble, I know who you are, I knew your father, I knew your grandfather, like our families have been linked together. So it's one of those moments where there's like, oh, it's a dead end, oh, it's not, surprise, it's actually somebody here to help. And how about this? Maybe this will work, maybe we're gonna go too far off the deep end, but I don't care, let's do it. Maybe the Swiss guard is like, if this is about the knife, like, I'm excited, I knew this day would come, I always thought you would be the one to find it. And maybe Felix is like, find the knife? What do you mean, me, the one? Like, the knife? What are you talking about? And he just like hands him a small like felt bag. He's like, don't open this here, take this with you when you're far away from here, open this and begin your training. And they're like, what is, like, what's in here? A bunch of PCP? Like, what is small enough to like affect me
through your nose?
Right. In a meaningful way. And so they like are escorted out the back, and they escape to like a local runway and steal another plane, because that's all Hastings does, is just take other people's planes.
He's like a plane mover. He leaves one, he takes one.
Right, exactly. It looked like it was lonely here. Maybe it's a Concorde just sitting covered in cobwebs, and it's just like, this will kill us. And he's like, well, it's
boys wanted to go faster than sound.
The only key in the key box goes to the Concorde, so let's hope if we die quickly, and without much pain. Steal something like that, and they just shoot it to France, which should take like about 5 minutes from Italy if you're in a Concorde. But like they get on the plane, open up the little bag, and it's like, it almost looks like garbage. It's like a shard of something kind of silvery, 2 or 3 inches big, and Felix is like, great, another dead end, and Hastings has to be like, what's in the bag? Let me see it. And Felix is like, nothing, it's garbage, I don't know why he gave it to me. And he's like, come on, it's probably nothing, and it's probably not nothing, maybe it's part of the alien ship, or Hastings doing Hastings stuff. He looks at it and he's like, oh shit, dude, I think that's part of the knife. And he's like, and Felix is like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, like, read the rest of the legend. And that's when, we're reminded as the audience that, like, or maybe we learn for the first time that, like, part of the quiet legend and the person who is the quiet legend is that the connection with the knife, you can move with your mind, but obviously that's hard to do if you've never done something like that. And so Hastings is like, oh shit, that guy thinks you're the one, like Neo. And he's like, what are you talking about? This isn't a movie. And he's like, well, prove me wrong, put that thing on the ground and like try to pick it up. And so he like puts it down and then just like grabs it with his hand, and he's like, no, with your mind, like sit it down there and move that thing, man. And so he kind of sits there, and maybe it like bumps as they hit turbulence, and he's like, oh no, it was a cloud. Like, no, sorry, it wasn't you. Sorry, Felix.
Hold on, we're flying past France. I'm going to do another lap around the Earth.
That's great. And and so he's trying to basically train his mind to get ready for the rest of the quiet legend. And now he's kind of maybe it does start to like wiggle a little bit and maybe pick up off the ground just as Hastings is like, any luck, we're landing, and like, starts to land and it falls down, and Felix is like, I don't think so. So he like sees it for a second but doesn't believe it. But as the audience, you're like, oh shit, I'm pretty sure he just did that. It wasn't just the plane landing. So it's like maybe just enough movement where you're like, no, he did that. It wasn't turbulence. It wasn't the plane.
Love it.
But not enough to be like Luke Skywalker or whatever yet. Just a little playful wiggle. But
that's perfect, because we're coming into what everybody's been watching the movie for, like the confrontation.
Yes.
And we get a little peek at, okay, maybe Felix has more than just a genealogy connection with this clan. Maybe he is the one. Maybe this is part of the actual quiet legend, the dagger. And maybe his connection to it is going to help him show that he's the leader and then take over the whole clan, or like effectively we land this stolen Concorde in France, probably in like a cornfield, in a wine vineyard somewhere.
There we go. Perfect.
Tearing up Cabernet prices for the next 2 years.
Very well.
But they land there, and they got a little, maybe a quick 2-second montage to get to the castle in France or the outskirts of it. It looks deserted.
Yes,
when
for sure.
they land there, when they
like
land
a ruin,
nearby.
Basically, it looks like it's just abandoned.
Yeah. This is a castle from the year 1000.
Right.
So it hasn't been quite as well kept as some modern American public schools, which are also sometimes in ruin.
Yep.
And they know a little bit about what they're looking for the dagger, or the home of the Brotherhood of the Knife, so that they can just kill them all. Hastings at this point has like a duffel bag full of automatic weaponry and maybe a flamethrower and a handful of grenades and stuff.
Yep.
He's ready. He's out. We've done this before, Battle Buddy. I'm ready to go. But the castle looks empty, so they get in there and start just tossing the place.
Yep.
Looking for clue. Why the hell did he send us here? Maybe he was just trying to get rid of us. I don't know who to trust anymore.
Yep.
And let me know if I'm going too fast. We can redact this, but like in a moment of like frustration and anger, he's like, "This is so fucking stupid."
Right.
And you hear like a clink, like a metallic clink, and a whoosh. As in the show, we'd see the dagger like pulled from the wall or the ruins or something and start flying through the air right towards Felix's hand. So like, this is stupid.
Right. Yes.
But before it gets there, on its way, this legendary quiet dagger is intercepted by the leader of the Brotherhood, who I have just created in my head, who's there to intercept the dagger because they weren't able to find it. No one else was able to wake it up, which is why they left Felix alive.
Right.
He's found his way to the castle. Maybe the dagger, maybe the Swiss Guard was a plant, but the Brotherhood needed him to find this dagger, and now it's in their leader's hand. Splinter. Probably not Splinter.
Can't be that. But I like the idea of like him having not a name, like he could be called the Raven or something.
Perfect.
All right.
Perfect.
All right.
He probably doesn't. Well, maybe he announces himself. Maybe he's a little pretentious, but
I am the Raven. Right. No, probably not that, but he probably does. Right. So he snags it and he's like, starts monologuing like, haha, it was too easy. Like, you led us right to it, you fool. Like, you don't know what you're messing with. You've been nothing more than a nuisance, though. Like, so he's kind of doing that thing that bad guys do, where it's like, I'm in control. This is all part of the plan, but you are kind of annoying, but we're stronger than you, and you should be afraid, and you're a dumb dummy, and this is all I know everything, and you're a stupid little kid.
Love that monologue. Absolutely love that monologue.
Word for word, what the Raven says.
And you like the place starts filling up with
more of the Brotherhood of the Knife.
Yes, it's hard for me not to call it the Foot Clan now.
They start cartwheeling in, and somersaulting in. So the place is filling up with bad guys, and Felix is like, okay, cool, it's just got worse. I thought I had it. Now I literally just gave it to the bad guys, the quiet legend. I suck. And like, maybe Hastings is like outside the whole time, doing action rolls and setting up booby traps or something.
Love it. So you got a little hope left.
Right. And he's got the earpiece in and kind of hears that Felix is in trouble. And it's like, all right, I got to shift my plan and stuff, while the Raven is monologuing more about just again.
I want him to have like call like security call words. So like they've got this earpiece.
Yep.
Felix gets captured and tied up. And he's like, the Raven is landed.
Right.
And then the Raven is like, wait, who are you talking to?
Me?
Are you talking
to
me?
Where I am.
I'm right here.
Right. Oh,
Hastings hears this and he's like, oh shit. All right. I'm coming, buddy.
Yep. I love this.
And as the Raven's monologuing, instead of showing up with a hail of bullets and killing everyone, which of course he couldn't do, Hastings is probably brought in, also captured.
Yeah, like assassins catch it like that. So even like the sliver of hope that you have that Hastings will save the day, that's gone. And this is like the low point. Like, Hastings is captured, Felix has been beat up, captured, gave the knife up to the last people in the world he wanted the knife to have, led them right to it. Like, he just feels like a dummy, like he fell for every trick in the book. and kind of just like goes limp and is just laying there as they're laughing at him. And the Raven keeps going. You know, there are 40 of us now. In a generation, there'll be 100 or more. Like, we'll be back to running the world before you know it, and it's all thanks to you, little Felix. Like,
yes,
like the legacy of your family
we're taking out is
right,
Duff.
Right, like we've wiped out your family line. Tonight we'll finish that. Should have been wiped out 100 years ago. Like, you know, all this stuff making Felix feel like the worst. And as this is happening, like more bad guys are showing up, and then Felix is like, why don't you just kill me then? And the Ravens, maybe he's like, in time, like I want everyone to be here to see it. Like, this is a big deal to see the quiet.
So
like,
I'm the quiet legend.
The quiet legend hasn't killed in 2,000 years. Like, we've all been waiting for this, and yada yada. And so that's what's happening. They're waiting for all these bad dudes to show up, and like they finally do. And Hastings is bumming out and trying to escape, and he's getting beat up, and Felix is just laying there now, kind of quiet. And then the Raven's like, all right, brothers and of the knife, like, this is the moment we've all been waiting for. The quiet legend has returned, and holds it up, and they all cheer and whatever. And he's like, with our first victim in 2,000 years will be the one that led us to the quiet legend, but also the family that stood in our way the longest, and yada yada. And he's ready to like stab Felix. And how about this? Like, this is some sweet Jedi shit, but like, I mean, he was training on the plane. He could, like, as the Raven's like bringing the knife down, it just like stops like an inch from Felix's face, and Felix is like, oh shit, like, what's happening? And maybe you realize that maybe the Raven's like, oh shit, what's happening? And then you see Felix's face, and he's like kind of like boiling with like rage and anger, and clearly really focused on something. And you see the Raven's hand like start to move back with the knife, and the Raven's like, what the fuck is happening? And then it just like shoots out of his hand, and you get this amazing scene of like this ping pong game from like hell, where it's just this knife bouncing through all these assassins, as Felix controls it with his mind to kill all of them in like a minute. And Hastings like, holy shit, this is amazing. Oh my god, that guy's arm just fell off. Like, narrating it. Right, exactly. Yeah. Right. I think you missed that guy. Oh nope, I see it. It's all right through his head. It went right through his ears. Like, right, he's just highlighting all this, the ridiculousness as it zigzags across this castle. The last person it lands on, of course, is Raven, and maybe Felix says something cool, maybe he doesn't, you know, we can figure that out and have some fun with that. But yeah, he like immediately masters the ability to, because he is the quiet legend. Like, he probably didn't have to master it just to like believe in it or whatever.
But yeah, because he didn't.
Yeah,
he was forced to believe in it because he was about to be murdered by it.
Right,
which is a great, like, if you're ever trying to shoot a free throw, put a gun to your own head.
Yes.
So that pretty much takes us to the catalyst of like, okay, so Felix has accomplished his mission.
Right.
I love the very Quentin Tarantino bloodbath ending to
sweet music.
The last possible. Oh God, like I love the music, and I don't even know what it is yet,
but we love it.
And then we've got, I think there's two ways that we can try and give this a proper ending.
Okay.
One of them would be Felix and Hastings start their own like private security company in the Caribbean, and try and use their powers for good. The other one, though, takes us more back to the original point of the story, and Felix comes back to America. You know, there's some hoorah celebrating and whatnot. Now what are you going to do? You are the quiet legend. You've eliminated the presumed threat. Yep. Felix goes back to the States. His phone's been getting ignored calls from the Secret Service since he left.
Sure.
His boss is like, look, the candidate Duff has exploded since you, like, figuratively exploded.
Right.
Since the incident. He's in the front running to become the next president of the United States, and we want to promote you to presidential duty.
Ooh.
And Felix can kind of take that and effectively get what he was going for in the beginning, but now with near infinite power to make sure that the would-be great presidential candidate is safe throughout the rest of his time as president.
Can use the quiet legend for good instead of to kill, to prevent someone from being killed or something like that. It's still helps balance the power, but in a different way. I love that. I think that's cool. And right, like it's good for Felix, who started out like basically as a glorified limo driver, and now for like, you know, some just almost nobody. Now that nobody is probably going to become the president, and he gets to head his Secret Service. So like his life gets better. Quiet Legend's in a good hands. Hastings is hanging out, eating donuts and shooting bazookas and whatever. Like he's living his life. Maybe he is brought on as a special
head of
security consultant.
Disposal.
Right, there you go. Right, lead farmer or whatever. And yeah, I like that. I like that's a good kind of bow on it to come back to the beginning. But now Felix isn't just singing his underpants and getting disappointing news. He's doing it. He's at the top and has rid the world of what would be a lot of bad folks. And then obviously, this is ripe for sequels. I mean, it could end with, you know, Hastings getting a call of, you know, this the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pans just took over a bunch of automated tanks in West Germany. Well, it doesn't exist anymore. Germany, and we gotta. Well, what are we gonna do?
Also, West Germany's back. They're divided again.
A lot happened while we were in France.
Someone stole the Concorde.
The Concorde is slower than we thought. We've been gone for years. Anyway, it could end as a fun. It could also end like that. So we're not going to dive into sequels tonight. But the Quiet Legend does, and when Felix and Hastings together, they're a good team. That could be a good time, just fighting bad guys all over the world with a magical flying knife. And that's it.
That's all. Right? That's all I've got.
That's all I have.
It was a fun story. It was borrowed from everything I've seen in my life, but I think it was new, or it was some new touches on it. And there was
at
the end, a bunch of bad guys died from a flying knife. What's better than that?
That's what people pay them big bucks for.
So if you're still here, thank you. Let us know what you thought of the flying knife legend, the Quiet Legend. And check us out on Instagram for a sneak peek at what's coming up next week.
That's right.
Till then, as we often say here at Beer Me That Movie,
peace, punch,
give me your lunch.